Every year when I go down to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, I have to stop by my friend's gallery at Geoworld. Geoworld has some of the most remarkable fossils collected from all across the planet. And I've been given special permission to take you on a behind-the-scenes tour of one of the most remarkable fossil and mineral galleries on the entire planet. Have a look at this incredible cave bear skeleton. It's a real fossil, just like everything here at Geoworld. They even have some of the most remarkable selections of dinosaur bones I've ever seen. I'm going to take you on a journey throughout time to look at some of the most remarkable pieces of art nature has ever produced. Check out these woolly rhino skulls. Those impressive horns are made out of keratin, the same substance that your hair and fingernails are made of. Woolly rhinos are icons of the Ice Age, but when you think of the Ice Age, you think of the mighty mammoth.
One of the most unique things about mammoths that a lot of people overlook are their teeth. Have a look at these absolutely amazing mammoth teeth that are still in situ inside the lower jaw. Now, mammoths, just like elephants alive today, had 4 teeth in their mouth, 2 up top and 2 below. The surface of the tooth looks a lot like the tread of your shoe, and they're really good for grinding up tough vegetation like grass. It was this adaptation that allowed mammoths to dominate the mammoth steppes during the Ice Age. These are absolutely amazing fossils, and if you're a collector, this is definitely something to put on your shopping list.
Mammoth teeth have to be among the most complex and weirdest teeth of any mammal. And speaking of weird Ice Age animals, look at these glyptodont tail clubs. These were from massive relatives of the armadillo, the size of a car. Only here at Geoworld could you see something this cool. Now, these fossils right behind me are near and dear to my heart because these are fossil fish from the Green River Formation. Our very first video on YouTube was all about the Green River Formation in Wyoming, Kemmerer specifically. Now, these fossil fish right here all come from an 18-inch layer, and they're absolutely phenomenal. We have a couple of different species represented here. A lot of the smaller fish are Knightia, which is actually the state fossil of Wyoming. We have a big Feriotis, which is a relative of modern-day arowana. And we also even have a giant Diplomiscus, a close relative of modern-day herring. Green River Formation fossils are absolutely gorgeous and are pieces of art. They're preserved in laminated limestone, and one of the things I love about these fossils is that they can tell us stories about the ancient past. Look at this Diplomiscus specimen. It was preserved after it choked to death after trying to swallow another fish species. I was privileged to see for the first time 2 absolutely gorgeous fossil gars from the Green River Formation. Gars are the largest fish found in this formation and also one of the rarest. They have absolutely beautiful, thick, shiny diamond-shaped scales. They're absolutely massive, with some of the largest specimens being measured at over 5 feet in length. Maybe one day we'll find a giant gar specimen just like these. Another rare Green River Formation fish fossil is this exquisitely preserved stingray fossil. This is Heliobatus, a freshwater stingray. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I was taken away by another fossil stingray that was found just over the pond in Italy. Have a look at this absolutely beautiful stingray from Bolca, Italy.
This particular genus lived in Italy 50 million years ago, when much of that part of the world was still under the ocean. Fossil deposits in Bolca are part of Lagerstätten, or storage areas with fossils of extraordinary preservation. Now, stingrays, just like their relatives the sharks, had skeletons composed of cartilage, the same stuff that your nose and your ears are made out of. So the fact that this stingray is as well preserved as a fossil like this just goes to show the incredible fossil preservation in some fossil Lagerstättens around the world. Absolutely phenomenal.
So far, the fossils that we've looked at have been from the Cenozoic era, representing the last 66 million years of Earth's history. But now we're going to move backwards to the Mesozoic era and come face to face with the most magnificent dinosaur fossils that I've ever seen. First up is a bizarre ostrich-mimic dinosaur. Or is it the other way around?
Have a look at this incredible Struthiomimus foot. I love Struthiomimus and its relatives, the Ornithomimids, or bird-mimic dinosaurs. Picture a large ostrich with a long tail. These dinosaurs were very common in Western North America during the late Cretaceous period. Now, something that I want to point out to you, have a look at this foot arrangement. So us humans are plantigrades. We walk on the soles of our feet. But dinosaurs were different. Have a look. Struthiomimus walks on its toes. In fact, all dinosaurs were toe walkers. That makes them almost like giant ballerinas of doom. So cool. Another thing to point out too, and this is a unique trait in Struthiomimus and its relatives, is have a look. So we have the phalanges here, and then moving up, we have these long bones called the metatarsals. Now, have a look right here in the middle here. Struthiomimus had a pinched middle metatarsus, or a arctometatarsus. So basically, what this is this pinch almost acts kind of like a shock absorber when the animal was running. Now, this trait in dinosaur feet is found in the ornithomimids like Struthiomimus, but also in the tyrannosaurs, the oviraptorosaurs or cassowary-like dinosaurs, the dromaeosaurs, the troodontids, as well as several other theropod dinosaurs. Now, this is a dinosaur that's near and dear to my heart. This is Russ the Triceratops. This is a almost complete Triceratops skull that was found in the Hell Creek Formation in Montana. This particular dinosaur lived there from 66 to 67 million years ago. I love the ceratopsians. They're such a unique group of dinosaurs. They really took off here in North America during the late Cretaceous as well as Asia. Here in the continent of North America alone, there were over 80 different species of horned dinosaur. However, Triceratops was one of the last and one of the most unique. Now, if we look here at this big frill right back here, if you guys remember Johnny Bravo Ceratops back at the Tyrannostorus, you'll remember that Johnny Bravo Ceratops had two large holes on the frill. Those holes were called fenestra. Now, the fenestra are very common in the frills of several horned dinosaur species, but Triceratops is unique in being one of the few horned dinosaurs that lacked those holes. Instead, blood vessels would run through the frill, potentially to display color. In a lot of movies about dinosaurs, large herbivores like these are seen in dull brown or gray coloration, which we base on large mammalian megafauna alive today. But in reality,
these dinosaurs may have been just as pretty and colorful as a lot of the bird and reptile species that are still alive today. Triceratops and the other ceratopsians were truly remarkable dinosaurs, and they had some absolutely crazy headgear. But if you think the ceratopsians were crazy dinos, then this next dinosaur will knock you down to your senses. This is a Pachycephalosaurus skull dome. It's several inches thick and was used by adults of this species to ram into each other, similarly to how bighorn sheep will do the same during the rutting season. It's an absolutely incredible fossil. Now check this out. These are the caudal or tail vertebrae of an Edmontosaurus, a duck-billed plant-eating dinosaur. This particular fossil, or set of fossils, comes from the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota. And what's special about this particular tail fossil is have a look at this vertebra right here. Look at the bone. See how it's kind of warped and twisted and doesn't really look right? That is because 66 million years ago, this poor dinosaur got munched on the tail by a larger predatory dinosaur. Now, in South Dakota in the Hell Creek Formation, the only large meat-eating dinosaur that could cause this damage was Tyrannosaurus rex. And what's crazy, too, is the bone actually remodeled and healed. This tells us that this particular Edmontosaur survived its encounter with the king of the dinosaurs. What a lucky dino. While hadrosaurs, including Edmontosaurus, might not be as popular as other dinosaurs like T-Rex or Triceratops, they were still remarkable animals. This is the jaw of an Edmontosaurus. Have a look at the rows of teeth it has in its mouth. Hadrosaurs had dental batteries, rows of teeth that would replace themselves after one would fall out. Some hadrosaurs could have had as many as 1,000 teeth in their mouth, and hadrosaurs had some of the most sophisticated teeth of any dinosaur. This fossil was a real treat to see. This is a complete ichthyosaur skeleton. Ichthyosaurs were not dinosaurs, although they lived at the same time as dinosaurs. Instead, they were massive marine reptiles that occupied a different branch on the reptile family tree. This particular specimen comes from Germany, and some of the German fossil-bearing units that contain ichthyosaur fossils preserve some of the most incredible specimens on the planet. We've even found ichthyosaurs preserved with unborn embryos inside that the mothers failed to give birth to before they died. Another really interesting fossil here at Geoworld is this slab of sandstone. It preserves a trackway from an animal that lived here in Arizona during the Permian period, nearly 280 million years ago. This is when the giant landmass of Pangaea formed. And what's really incredible is that this right here is an ichnotaxon. So an ichnotaxon for this particular species is called Chelonicus. Now an ichnotaxon isn't the name of the animal that left these tracks, but it's the name of the tracks that this particular animal left behind. But what kind of an animal was it? Well, scientists go back and forth with Chelonicus. Some think that it's possibly an early reptile or potentially an early proto-mammal, which were evolving during this time. Now, this slab right here, too, tells an incredible story. This particular animal is walking along right here on this sandy beach, and then all of a sudden, an insect crosses by, and then the insect tracks stop. Potentially, this animal may have gotten itself an insect treat. How amazing is that?
I love the stories that fossils can tell us from deep time.
With this fossil trackway, we have left the dinosaurs far behind, including the Mesozoic era. We are now in the Paleozoic era, the time before dinosaurs appeared. One of the animals that would have been living in the oceans during this time were the ammonites and their relatives, the ammonoids. These were shelled relatives of octopus and squid. They were remarkably successful, with over 11,000 different species described. Ammonite fossils are so common that people have been finding them for centuries. Before we understood what ammonites were, one of the explanations for these fossils was that they were coiled up snakes that had been turned to stone, earning them the nickname snake stones. However, ammonites were actually extinct shelled cephalopods that had a chambered shell used for buoyancy to help them float through the water.
Have a look at the size of this trilobite. This particular trilobite genus is found in Morocco and dates back to the Cambrian period, over 500 million years ago. To put that into perspective, land plants hadn't evolved yet. Fish hadn't evolved yet. This is hundreds of millions of years before the first dinosaurs evolved. Trilobites might just be one of the most successful groups of animals that ever existed. They were ancient relatives of insects and spiders that lived in the ocean. They had 3 parts to their body. They had a head called a cephalon, a midsection called the thorax, and the back end called the pygidium. These animals were among the most successful creatures that ever existed, and they eventually became extinct at the end of the Permian period, 252 million years ago, just before the first dinosaurs evolved. That means that all trilobites were fossils by the time the first dinosaurs came on the scene.
Terrorizing the trilobites and the ammonoids of the Devonian period was a giant shell-crushing armored fish with jaws powerful enough to crack open the toughest shells and even bone. This is the skull of Dunkleosteus.
Millions of years before dinosaurs walked the earth, giant bone-crushing fish terrorized the Devonian seas. This is Dunkleosteus, a giant placoderm or armored fish that patrolled all over the oceans in the Devonian period over 360 million years ago. Something I want to point out here, have a look at these big teeth, or are they teeth? They're not quite true teeth. They're actually sheaths of bone that basically act as a giant pair of prehistoric bolt cutters. Dunkleosteus would have terrorized ammonites, shelled relatives of octopus and squid, as well as other smaller placoderms, and maybe even other Dunkleosteus. And we know this because we actually find the fossilized barf or vomit of Dunkleosteus that has chunks of bone inside of it. This is one fish I wouldn't want to catch on a line.
Fossils aren't the only things that Geoworld has in its collection. They also boast a remarkable diversity of meteorites, minerals, and gemstones collected from all over the world, which I want to explore in a second video. But what do you guys think? Be sure to leave a comment down below. And also, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible videos about the natural history of our planet. I want to give a huge shout out to my friends at Geoworld for letting me take you on a behind-the-scenes tour of this remarkable collection. Remember, stay passionate about science and natural history, and be sure to check us out here at the Tyrannostorus.